All right, this is Module 2, Lesson 5. We're going to be talking about finding the distance between two numbers. So I am going to, in class, have each pair of partners break up. One person will be person A and do the left-hand side. One person will be person B to do the right-hand side. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're not in class. So if you could do both of them, that would be awesome, because then it will give you something to compare. So go ahead and try this first table. You can push pause, complete the whole table, and then make sure that your answers are correct by pushing play after you are done. All right, so we're finding the distance between -4 and 5. So I'm just going to plot those on the number line, -4 and 5. All right, so finding the distance, I'm counting how many spaces are in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the distance between them is 9. All right, and person B was finding the distance between 5 and -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The distance was 9. All right, next one, distance between -5 and -3. 2 spots in between them. And over here, we're doing -3 and -5. So 2 spots in between them. All right, last one is 7 and -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one was between -1 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. What do you notice about person A and person B? They were given the same numbers, just reversed. So they had the same answers for both of them because the distance remains the same. All right, so let's look at exercise 2. These are the same types of questions asking you to find the distance between the two numbers. So I would like you to try these on your own again. Press play when you are ready. All right, so distance between 0 and -8. So if I count that out, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The distance between -2, not +2, and -1.5. This is only a half of a block. The distance between -6 and -10 would be 4 units. All right, so let's take a look at one more example here. Finding the distance between -3 and 2. So I'm going to plot -3 and 2. Start at an endpoint. You're going to count the number of units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what we've been doing the whole time. So our units, or the distance between them, is 5. Now, I've been doing this the whole time just by counting, which is very easy if you have a number line. But there is a rule that we could follow. So that rule is stated in this box. We call it a formula. So any two numbers that you pick, you can find the distance by taking the absolute value of P minus Q. So we're subtracting, but taking the absolute value of that because we're finding the distance. Distance is always going to be positive. So let's use this example. So the formula would be that we are finding the absolute value. Take these two numbers here. We're going to do 2 minus -3. Find the difference between the two numbers. Now, the last couple days we've been learning whenever you're subtracting, you're going to do leave, change the sign to its opposite, and change the last number to its opposite. So 2 plus 3 is 5, but the absolute value of 5 is 5, which is the same answer that we got up above. So you can use the formula, which is just subtracting whatever two numbers you have and taking the absolute value of them. So let's go back and find the distance between the two numbers in exercises 1 and 2 by using the formula. We've already done it by counting. Now let's go to use the formula. So going back to this chart. In class, I'm going to have person A do first column, person B do the second column. But for the purpose of you doing this. I'd like you to do all of them. So we're going to take these two numbers and subtract. So -4 minus 5. So -4, leave, change, change. -4 plus -5 is -9, but you're taking the absolute value of -9, which is just 9. Notice it's the same answer you just got. On this side, we're doing 5 minus -4. Leave, change, change. 5 plus 4 is 9, and the absolute value of 9 is 9. So no matter what order you put these two numbers into the formula, you will still come up with the same answer. And that's because you're finding distance, and distance is always positive. So let's do it for this one. We're going to do -5 minus -3. So leave, change, change. So -5 plus 3 is -2, and the absolute value of that is 2. This one is -3 minus -5. So leave, change, change. Opposite signs mean we subtract, so 5 minus 3 is 2. That shouldn't be a parentheses, it should be an absolute value symbol. 5 is bigger, so our answer is positive, so +2. All right, let's do it again. So the absolute value of 7 minus -1, leave, change, change. 7 plus 1 is 8, and the absolute value of 8 is 8. Switch the order. -1 minus 7, leave, change, change, which would be the absolute value of -8, or just 8. All right. I think we could do the same thing and go through each one of these. So I'd like you to do that on your own. Press pause. When you are done, make sure that you have the answers correct. All right, so this one we're going to do 0 minus -8, 0 plus +8, leave, change, change. That's the absolute value of 8, or 8. This one is -2 minus -1 1/2. So leave, change, change. Opposite signs mean we subtract, which would give us 1/2. Now 2 is bigger than 1 and 1/2, which would be negative, but we are taking the absolute value, which is just 1/2. Last one, -6 minus -10. Leave, change, change. Opposite signs mean to subtract. 10 is bigger, it's positive. The absolute value of that is 4. All right, so page 35. Now let's talk about some word problems with this. They love to answer or ask these on New York State tests. They love to ask the distance between them, but we know that distance is always positive. So change in elevation or temperature may be positive or negative depending on whether it's increasing or decreasing, but distance is always positive. So let's answer this question. A hiker starts hiking at the beginning of the trail, which is 200 feet below sea level. He hikes to 580 above sea level and stops for lunch. So what is the vertical distance between these two numbers? Now, we could draw a number line, which I would strongly encourage. If you think the number line is a little bit easier to do, make a number line. And if you want to do a vertical one, that will help you to see the below and above sea level. So say this is 0. 200 feet below would be -200. 580 would be above. Now, obviously, that's not to scale, but the distance between them, this would be 580. This would be 200. So the distance between them is 780. Now, let's show that mathematically on paper. So we're going to take the absolute value of -200 minus 580. The difference means you're subtracting. So we're going to do leave, change, change. Negative, negative means more negatives, and that's -780, and it's distance, so it's +780, and you can label that feet if you would like. You could reverse those numbers and you would still come up with the same answer. So either way, you can want to do it visually or with the formula. It does not matter to me. Now it says, how should we interpret 580 feet in the context of this problem? Well, 580 feet is the total amount hiked by the hiker. All right. Let's take a look at this one. It says, after lunch, the hiker hiked back down the trail from the point of elevation, which is 580 feet above, to the beginning, which is 200 feet below. So what is the vertical distance between 580 and 200 feet below sea level? So on the number line, he goes up to 580 and then back down to negative 200. And they want to know what this is right here, the whole thing. Now this is kind of the same thing, just going backwards. So let's use the formula and reverse the numbers. 580 minus negative 200. So leave, change, change. Now the absolute value of 780 is 780. Same answer. Notice that it's the same that we just got in the previous question. So what is the change in elevation? Would be 780 feet. All right, I'd like you to try the problem set that follows, and we will go over that in class. Have a good night.